Okay, so the big news of the weekend has to be Lorch, Moses Pirates joining Mamelodi Sundowns. This all happened on the final day of the transfer window after rumors of Lorch wanting a little bit more money, Pirates not being able to give him that money or not wanting to, and then him going into the final 6 months of his contract, meaning that Pirates could have lost him for free if it wasn't for Sundowns jumping in and bringing him over to Lorch. The news has shocked Amapagane across the country, and they've been taking to social media to call Lorch a snake. But let's be honest, the only snake in this story just so happens to be the one that Lorch met this weekend at Lorch. I think we have pictures of the meeting. Kadala. On the Pirate side, this could be a positive. Coach Jose Rivero has been struggling with balancing his newer stars, Tito, Ndlondlo, Mfuke and Kim Viudi, with these older, more established players, guys like Lorch. In fact, in Lorch's case specifically, he'd step onto the pitch and you could tell how big of a star he was, and the other players felt it. A lot of the time, the other players don't necessarily know how to play with him and how to adapt to him, and also seem to shrink when he's on the pitch. A far cry from that team we saw at the beginning of the season that was really, really good and confident without having Lorch, without having Tim and down the pitch. They are the new stars, and they could probably profit from not having to be in Lorch's shadow. Maybe you might even see one of them step up and become a new Lorch. So him leaving may just reset Pirates to that team that was blowing teams off the pitch at the beginning of the season. One of the negatives is that they lose a bona fide star. Somebody who can come in and change a game when you need it. Somebody who can, if everything is equal, and possibly win them some points. This is what Sundowns is getting. A player that is a bona fide star who's going to join a team of their stars and maybe be the difference that Sundowns needs as they go deeper into the Champions League, as they get into the semi-finals and the finals, where they've often lacked that little something that takes them over the line. Lorch could be an incredible player for them in that regard. This could be a great thing for Lorch as well. Star players tend to stay at teams where they can feel their weight and throw their weight around, and sometimes they're a little bit harder to control, and maybe Busta makes them feel as though they're bigger than the team. Him going to Mamelodi Sundowns at this age allows him to play with players of a similar caliber and star power. And it's also an environment where, no disrespect, all of his achievements mean nothing because they've won more. It becomes a place where maybe Lorch can learn again to be more of a teammate in a very strong team, get mentored by a coach that has mentored him before, and become a little bit teachable. Under the guidance of this Sundowns management, could revive his career and also give him a chance to win some trophies that, if we're being honest, nobody else can win. Lorch, welcome to Pitori. I, for one, am looking forward to hearing Lorch udlala kamnandi. Kwa komoria. When I say the word swallows to you, you probably think of a flock of birds flying in a well-coordinated group. But for some reason, if you put Morocco in front of it, this is what you see. We already got the news that 22 players had been released by Swallows in the transfer window. And now we've got confirmation that Jali seems to be one of those players too. And this is crazy. At the beginning of the season, everything looked great at Swallows. They'd upgraded their coach, bringing in coach Steve Kompela. They then signed Jali. They even managed to get a new technical sponsor in Drip Sportif. And it made it all the more surprising that just a few months after the league had started, rumors started to surface saying that players weren't getting paid, and eventually led to a December run where they didn't honor two of their fixtures versus Mamelodi Sundowns and Golden Arrows. There was a point where the issue was said to be the players wanting their salaries early, only for them to be released later and allegedly only getting paid for 14 days of the month, since that is all they worked. It's gotten so bad that some of the players who couldn't get out have allegedly re-signed with Morocco Swallows for lesser salaries. Even the kit sponsor is reported to be going through something similar right now. The biggest question, at least for me, is that after you've let go of around 23 players, who is exactly going to show up for this team when games resume after AFCON? Are we going to be watching essentially a disky team taking part in the PSL? And what does that do to the quality of the PSL? And is this what Coach Steve had signed up for when joining Swallows? Are we looking at another legendary, storied franchise in South African football dying a very similar death? I believe at this point questions should be asked of the PSL itself. Why are things like this still allowed to happen after we've seen this happen for so many years? Surely owners should be vetted and verified to make sure that they can carry the financial burden of running a team for at least 5 years, whether they have sponsors or not. Or at the very least, if a team is going down, shouldn't the PSL at this point have maybe a task team that steps in and takes over the operation of these teams while they look for new owners? How are we getting to the point where games are not being honored? We can't keep seeing the same problems every season. After months of speculation, we now know where Coach Pitso is going to be coaching. It turns out that he's headed to Saudi Arabia. He's going to be coaching Abba. I'm sorry, Chiefs fans, I just had to. For those who followed the page, you know exactly how I view Coach Pitso. Coach Pitso is one of my most beloved coaches. I even have this that I used to use for my podcast as one of the photos that I wanted on my desk. So I have a deep admiration over Coach Pitso. And I believe that he should be given a chance to coach at the levels of your Ancelottis, to coach at the levels of your Klopps and those type of coaches. I think the footballing world has been very unfair to Coach Pitso after the things that he's accomplished. That is how highly I rate Coach Pitso. But now, after this move to Abba, back to Saudi Arabia, I think I understand how the Saudi Arabians view him. He's their Sam Allardyce. He's their Dan Malisel. Good enough to call when you need a team to save, similar to what he did with Al Ahly, a team that was one of the biggest teams in the country, top 4, but got relegated. And when none of those nice, shiny coaches that they tried to call would come and take on that job, they called one of the most famous coaches in the Arab world, someone who had done so well at Al Ahly in Egypt. And they brought him in to do a saving job. Immediately after getting promoted, he was shipped aside. What gets me about this deal that he signed with Abba is it's allegedly a 4-month contract. What can you do in 4 months as a coach? Can you change the way the team plays? Can you change the culture from a losing culture to a winning one? Can you instill new values? Or can we even see your fingerprint on a team after 4 months? This team sits 17th in the 18-team Saudi Pro League. They've got 4 wins out of 19 games. They've drawn 2 and they've lost 13 games. They've got a goal difference of -30. This feels like Coach Pitso is going to come in. Coach Pitso is going to fix this. He's going to get everything right in the back. He's going to get them winning. He might turn around their season. He's going to get them into a respectable position. And the moment they see that daylight, they'll get rid of him. They'll use all of that structure built to bring in somebody else. I, at least personally, would love to see Coach Pitso coaching with the biggest coaches in the world. But you also have to sometimes maybe question some of the decisions. Is this the best way to get into the top 5 leagues in Europe? Could you have gone to an MLS? Could you have gone elsewhere that could get you a gateway into the top coaching jobs? Or at least close to them. What I will choose to do, coach, because I don't know what your plan is, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it's a bigger plan that we don't understand. But we will support you and we will be behind you. All the best with the new team. Hopefully you can lead them to glory as you have with so many other teams in your career.